All right. Welcome to our monthly Friday gathering of friends, strangers, soon to be friends for another storytelling session. So I hope your lives have been filled with great stories since we last had a chance to gather. If you're a first time with us, welcome to meet you. For us returning folks, it's good to see you all again. If you're able, turn your videos on. We do like to see smiling or even frowning faces because faces are always good to see. As a matter of just as we connect today through Zoom from different countries and different states and cities that we have rolling forward. So yeah, so Jeff Evans, my co-host, Maya's here to kind of facilitate moving to get as quickly as possible to our wonderful storyteller, Joe Maalouf, who I am honored to call not just a colleague, but a good friend. We've been on this journey. It's been over 30 years together, Joe. So it's amazing that that's been going on that long.
Absolutely.
In this realm. And we even discovered that Joe and I have even more commonalities in our journey from being an engineer to doing this work as well, too. So welcome as we get moving forward. So we'll do a formal intro. I'll get you in just a little bit, Joe. There's been a couple of questions about the music. We always have the storyteller pick a song or some music to enter into this. So tell us a little bit about who that was and why you chose that song today.
Well, the song is Windmills of Your Mind. It's been basically performed by many famous singers. The one you are listening to is from Maureen McGovern, which won an Oscar back in 1975. And the original song actually is French, Les Moulins de ton cœur, ou de mon cœur, the windmills of my heart. And it talks about confusion and being in a state of confusion. I've always liked it because I believe that the only thing that can come from confusion is discovery and a better state of awareness. So that song has always been with me. In my mind, it comes to mind, especially in frequent states of confusion. So that's the song.
Love it. What a great rendition. Absolutely. It goes back to the mid 70s. So as with our common practice with any work that we do like to continue to model and to share that we have connection before content. So we are going to put all us into a small breakout room. Hopefully people are familiar with Zoom by now. You'll get a little invite thing to put you into a room. And we're just going to continue our questions that we usually have to kind of start up today. So it's the why did you choose to be here today? And what did you have to give up to be here today? If you'd like to add that into the mix as well. Sometimes we give up some things we like, and sometimes we give up some things we don't like. So it can almost be an escape sometimes as we go through. So why did you choose to be here today? And what did you have to give up today? I think maybe about 8 minutes or so. I think Maya will put in the breakout 8 to 10 minutes. You'll see some warnings coming through. Breakout room conversations will be moving. Check your chat for different messages going forward. Maya's put the questions in the chat as well, which should follow you in there. Encourage you guys when you're in your small groups, no advice allowed. Listen to yourselves and listen to your other newfound friends or acquaintances from the past as you have the conversations. So with no further chattering away from me, let's move to breakout rooms. We'll see you back in about 10 minutes.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hello. We've gotten a couple newer folks since we went to breakout. So welcome people who are, I had the honor of chatting with your sister, Joe. So Maha is here. We tried to get it renamed the actual window. We're not successful yet. So we still have a few Joe Maaloufs in the room. So that's all. All right. So just at this point in time, as we kind of reconnect as the larger group, just anybody who would like to share anything that struck you about that conversation you had with strangers that are now friends or people that were already friends. So just a couple folks who'd like to give a comment about what struck you about the dialogue on why we chose to show up and maybe what we had to give up today. start talking or raise your hand and we'll get a couple in here.
With Paul's permission, I would like to invite him to share the idea that was cut off at the end of the session.
Yeah, I was just saying that a person that I've read his books, and he's from the Institute of the Future, and his name escapes me right now, but he talks about how in this world we need clarity, not certainty. And unfortunately, the brain wants certainty, so we're often people give us what they say is certainty, but it's not. It's more important to work towards clarity.
Beautiful. Thanks, Paul. And thanks, Roy, for inviting Paul to share that piece. Beautiful. Who else would like to share what struck them about your first conversation in your small group?
I think for me, it was just so nice to see somebody very familiar and somebody new, and how quickly we bonded again in such a small room. And yeah, there's just the joy of being together. I just loved it.
Great. Thanks, Anita. Good to see you as well.
I'd like to share that it was really lovely to meet my new friends, as you mentioned. But for me, it's like how we each have our unique story, but there is a common thread that actually weaves us together. That's what stays with me.
Beautiful. We have so much more in common than we have different, in spite of what the narrative continues to tell us. Maybe one more. Anybody else like to share what struck them about your conversation in your small group? Yeah, Shireen.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. So one of the things that really excited me and what was interesting about the discussion is specifically about Joe and how he changed the lives of the people who were in the room. So this kind of gave me a motivation to really want to be here more right now, just to see how things will go, and hopefully for more upcoming sessions like these as well.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. All right. Well, hopefully it feels, I know from myself, more connected as we connect in small groups and connect here with the people. Many people have had many impacts in our lives already, and maybe from this point forward, many people have more impacts as we move on into this journey of life that we're on. So with that, I'll turn it over to my partner, Maya, and she'll move into the little more formal introduction of Joe, and we'll begin to hear some of Joe's thoughts about his journey of his growth and belonging that we'll move into. So Maya.
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with so many people who have been impacted by Joe, and then also so many familiar friends. So when we asked Joe how he would like to be introduced, he said, whatever comes to mind when you think of me. So for me, Joe is a natural born leader. He is a poet. He's a structural engineer by training, which I find fascinating. He's an activist, and he's a longtime friend of design learning. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ask Joe his first question, which is, and it's something actually, Hala, that you said that struck me, which is there's a red thread between so many of our stories. And I think one for all of the storytellers that show up here in this space is that they have kind of always had a desire to move from a dominant narrative and a dominant way of doing things to an alternative. So this is the journey that many of us are on together. And Joe, I would like to ask you, why did you choose to embark on this journey of convening, of doing things differently?
Uh, well, thank you very much first for the invitation. Thanks, colleagues, friends, for being here today. I really appreciate your presence. Well, it started a long time ago, actually. Why did I choose to be on this journey is you just brought some memories from my childhood, early teens. I lived, actually, I was born in a family that was more like a clan than a family. Similar to, well, it's a concept of extended family in Lebanon. That's where I was born. And my parental grandparents used to insist that at least once every 2 weeks, a Saturday or a Sunday, the whole family comes together. We have obviously food, and then in the afternoon, the children, there were about 12 of us, the grandchildren would come to play, and different things, ball games, racket games, social games, whatever. And there was always some fighting. Maybe it is what you said, the leader, but the naturally born leader, but there were always fights. And funny enough, I was always party to the fights that were taking place. So that was the rebel in me. And either my grandfather, obviously in a macho dominant society at the time, or one of the uncles would come to mediate and help us to resolve things peacefully. So from that point on, they kind of awakened us to the fact that we need some peace and harmony when dealing with others. And there were some other events later on in my life that have helped me to make that shift and the choice, if you will, Maya. I'll be talking about some of those as we go in my little storytelling.
Thanks so much, Joe. Natural born rebel, maybe I should have said.
Yeah, rebel, more rebel, very competitive,
Yeah.
and sometimes bordering on the line of a little aggression, maybe sometimes even.
Happens. And what are some of the milestones that you have in mind about your journey?
Well, as I was thinking about this, I remember a distinct story. I was 13 or 14 years of age. I was the leader of one of the patrols in the Boy Scouts, and the scoutmaster for our troop was a little too domineering. I didn't like that, so I rallied the other leaders of the patrols, and we called for a meeting with this guy and the other scoutmasters. And we told them that we don't like being pushed around and basically being summoned to make decisions. So ultimately, conversation took place, and we started to be more respected and more consulted in things that concerned us. And that was kind of a first awakening to me that, yeah, you can have influence even on leaders that seem to be too autocratic or too directive in the way that they do things. So that was, it stays with me, which means it has had an impact on me. In any case, I grew up in Lebanon at the age of 18. I was held captive by the occupying Syrian forces at the time. When I was released, my parents decided to ship me out, that's a good word, ship me out. Yeah, ship me out to Boston to continue my education in Boston. And I went to Northeastern University for Industrial Engineering. Let me put my timer on because I tend to speak too much sometimes. All right, here we go. I was going for my industrial engineering degree, and a story that took place that reminded me as well of what I did with the Boy Scouts. I was taking a course in verbal communication as part of my master's program, I think at the time. And I decided to prepare a very controversial speech. The speech was titled, "Who the Hell Cares?" And he talked about wars all over the planet, discrimination, etc., etc., etc. And I guess my words were too blunt, and my tone was not very comforting to the professor at the time. So she gave me a D. Obviously, I didn't feel I deserve a D. So I talked to some of my colleagues. How do you like it? Did you see my speech? Most of them loved it. So I said, listen, I want to go to the student council and fight this grade. So let's meet and decide how to go about this. We had a meeting. We went about it. We went to the school council, who called for a meeting with the professor and the chairman of the industrial engineering department. And we discussed the situation. I shared part of my speech. And then the teacher said, yeah, maybe I took it too personally. I will not give you an A definitely, but your grade is going to be a B. So that was another event that stayed with me, which means that I think whenever we have our rights, we need to be vocal about them. We need to bring people together, to rally people, to support us, to cause change, especially change that is just, change that is due, to preserve people's rights, my rights, or the rights of others in general. So in any case, I finished my master's degree at Northeastern University, and my thesis was in robotics and ergonomics. So I ended up working in automating manufacturing cells and programming some of the robotics using computer assembly language. Couple of years of that, I woke up one day and I couldn't find my heart and soul anymore. And I felt that I was losing the poet that had always lived in me. So I decided to quit. That's what I did. The owner of the company I was working insisted I remain part-time. He said, I encourage you, go for additional studies, do whatever you want. So bottom line, I went and did some studies in systems thinking. I did some work on the human element with Will Schutz. And I met with some people and their books. Peter Block with Flawless Consulting, the Empowered Manager at the time. Will Schutz with Joy, Profound Simplicity, The Truth Option, Fritjof Capra. So a lot of spiritual, if you will, existential and holistic management books that I went through, and they had their impact on me. So I finished my additional studies, and at the time, we're back in the late 80s now, I had met with Giselle, who we fell in love and decided to get married and move to Montreal. Shall I be continuing, or shall I stop so we get your inquiring mind, Maya, or we're okay?
Please continue.
All right, okay. So I went to work in Montreal for a company in a managerial capacity in the pulp and paper industry. The integral quality program or integral quality management was in vogue at the time. In any case, the CEO called me one day, said, listen, Joe, we want you to take the responsibility for this program in the company. I said, wonderful. At the same time, inspired really by some of the work, especially of Peter around Flawless Consulting and Empowered Manager. And I'll address how we use those shortly within this program. I said, listen, that's fine. I want to have a team with me, a team that we will be the internal consultant to this program. And I hope that you don't think we're going to own this program. This program should remain your ownership. So we said, excellent, let's talk about it. You have your freedom. In any case, I invited a few people from the different divisions. We set up a team of internal consultants who were to be advisors and consultants to the management team. We met with the management team, agreed to the fact that they are the owners of the change process, and we are there as their support, their advisors, their consultants. So in order to prepare the team, we connected to Peter Block and Designed Learning. They were brought into Montreal. I took both consulting workshop, Flawless Consulting, which had to deal to a large extent with having conversations to reach agreements between the internal consultants and the management they serve, as well as the empowered stuff, especially around dealing with resistance, having conversations to deal with cynics, victims, bystanders, having conversations to reach a state of trust and agreement with others. So in any case, all these conversations were truly an awakening to me and to the team, and they were applied very nicely. The program was very successful. One day I was sitting with a couple of my colleagues. Pardon me, I need to take a sip. And we said, you know what, maybe we should bring this stuff to the world. Wonderful. So how can we do it? Well, we don't have any money. So Pascal Boussard, Stéphane Ogrina, and I said, you know what? If we believe enough in it, we can do it without money. Why don't we quit and go? Obviously, any change like that required some courage and maybe some naivety. So we did it, especially that we called the company Effical, given Pascal's desire to engage the heart and the mind. And our basic message to the world was engaging the heart and mind at work. That was back in 1991, about 32 years ago. The company started, we had a number of projects. And again, at the time, the language we were using was renegotiating the social contract, which is to a large extent echoed in the change of narratives that we talk about today. So one day I had somebody that attended the public workshop called Jacques Demers. Jacques Demers was the director of engineering for this telecom giant in Montreal, which is called Teleglobe. They were the owners of the global minutes that you use in telephony. That was before the age of voice over IP, etc. So in any case, Jacques Demers took the course, and then he said, Joe, Pascal, we need to meet. All right, we went to meet with him. So he actually convened us. We didn't convene him. And he said, I want to implement this in Teleglobe. Jacques, have you talked to Andre? Andre was the CEO, and he was a very demanding CEO, especially time of deregulation, the buck stops here, etc., etc. So finally, Jacques said, you know what? Why don't we have a meeting with Andre, and then help me prepare for that meeting, and then we'll invite the whole management team. Sure enough, Jacques, as the really, if you will, the godfather of this program at Teleglobe, was able to have the necessary conversations with the CEO and the management team. And sure enough, the transformation took place. And it was a wonderful transition from a contract that was highly patriarchal into a new social contract through conversations that was a contract and agreement around partnership and empowerment. So this was another lesson for me in my life, that this stuff works. So the Jacques was influential, and obviously I didn't do it as a consultant. I did it because of the clients that had whatever we were talking about had good resonance with it. And life continues. In any case, it's been 32 plus years in the consulting world, and we shifted more towards other types of conversations, one of which in the late 90s, when Peter first, Designed Learning developed the 6 conversations that ultimately was part of the community book by Peter. And I was attending one of the first, I think the first 6 conversations workshop with Peter in New Jersey. And one of the conversations was around declaring what is the possibility that you want to be. And Peter and I used to talk. I mean, it was since the late 80s, it became a love story. at least one from my side. I don't know from his side. No, I think there is love from on both sides. But in any case, we were talking about Lebanon, the Middle East, etc. So funny enough, when it came time to declare what am I the possibility of, I said, I am the possibility of bringing peace to Lebanon and possibly to the Middle East. Talk about now, this is arrogance and the ultimate state of naivety, and I don't know what else, but it stuck to my mind. And after the workshop finished, Peter said, you know, Joe, let's talk. I have some friends I can introduce you to. In any case, Giselle and I had conversations around this, that, etc. And in the late 90s, decided to go back to Lebanon for two reasons. The main reason is to offer our children who were all born in Canada the opportunity to experience the extended family concept, if you will, the clan concept of the family in Lebanon, and hopefully for Joe to reconnect to his activism and his political career, whatever that political career might look like. Maya and Jeff wanted me to share a little bit about the political career, and that was really the ultimate, if you will, of arrogance deciding to run for office. In any case, at the time, that's when we started Beyond. Beyond is a sister company to Efical that is based in Lebanon in 2003, and I have Gina, one of the first partners, and a couple of other friends that are part of Beyond that are on this call. So thank you very much for joining. In any case, I decided to run for office, and that really woke up the poet in me. So I'm going to share with you right now a little poem that I wrote at the time. The poem is called Together Rivers Will Flow. Together Rivers Will Flow. When I left the womb, I claimed the space. I claimed a place. Within humanity, I took some space. Do I get by? Be a passing case? Or do I leave an imprint, a memorable trace? Few words in a song, few notes on a string, stroke the soil and belong. Blossoming flowers in the spring. Invite my friends, heart, soul, and mind. Love them regardless of their kind. Join hands to search, discover, and know. Make mountains grow and new rivers flow. Help the moon and the stars to glow, sparkled with hope, sun, rain, and snow. Build the community with purpose and passion, with authenticity and compassion. That's a poem that it has a lot of emotional charge to it, because it truly flared my desire to cause change on a larger scale. So I ran for office in 2005 with the help of some of the people that are on this call, that are some of my colleague activists with whom we had started a couple of NGOs. One is called Towards Citizenship. The other was helping youth become more conscious, aware of their responsibilities related to junior achievement, international or worldwide. So I ran in 2005 independent for office, and it positive results, but I wasn't successful. But I stayed with it, and I continued my work in the consulting and training world. And in 2009, I ran for office on a political ticket, and sure enough, I got into the parliament. I became a member of parliament, for about 9 years. And what makes me laugh is that I tried to bring the shift of conversations into Parliament, especially in committees. I was very active in parliamentary committees, preparing a number of policies, laws, proposals, etc. And I did a lot of introductions of new thinking. Committee meetings were basically closed meetings. You cannot invite anybody to them. I basically didn't even ask for an exemption. I started to invite to the committees that I headed different stakeholders from academia, NGOs, etc., etc. I got a couple of times called by the Speaker of the House. What are you doing? What you're doing is against the law. So we started to hold some of these meetings outside of Parliament, and things went well until we really developed a number of very good laws, especially connected to promoting transparency and fighting corruption. One of the laws that I proposed and passed in office, I'm very proud of. It's called Promoting Transparency in the Oil and Gas Sector of Lebanon, which was really, we received a lot of good feedback from international bodies around it, as well as from the Norwegian government. In any case, bottom line, I didn't do it alone. It was always by bringing people to make conversations more complete and to cause this change in the way we do things. And one funny thing I used to do in every single meeting, we used to integrate what we call a process check, which is talking about how we're working together, stopping the content conversation, moving into process conversations. And ultimately, when I said in 2019, I'm not running anymore for office, I'm going back to the full-time consulting and training that I love, the head of a joint committee meeting said, I need to tell you today, I got some good news. Joe decided not to run for office anymore. So from here on, guys, no more Joe Maalouf process checks. And that, and that was the end of it. I've been back since in my work, and I'm very happy to be able to be immersed again in my work with Ethical, with Beyond, and definitely with the designed learning community. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that you found some interesting sparkles in what I said. Thank you.
Beautiful, Joe. Just curious, Joe, to probe a little bit more on the as you wonderful journey, so many different things that you've been on. Surprises that you've encountered, either pleasant or not so pleasant, that maybe have popped up that you haven't shared yet on this journey that you've been on and continue to be on.
Surprises. Well, maybe what was pleasantly surprising to me is the receptiveness of people, especially in the political arena, to having good, open conversations. I come from a world where all politicians are stereotyped as bad, ugly, corrupt, etc. And surprisingly, when you get to give yourself the opportunity to discover people, I think it's fantastic what we discover, how receptive people are, and how powerful conversations are, how powerful are really the willingness and desire of people to embrace a totally honest, transparent, caring narrative, conversation, language. Really, that was a pleasant surprise to me. Another big surprise to me, I don't know if any member of my family is still on the call, is that I haven't been able fully successfully implement it within the family. I've implemented it in so many places, and the most demanding place is within the family, especially if you have too many people that are striving to be leaders within this little clan of ours.
I love it. I can relate. Yeah, trying to apply some of these things your close friends and family are probably the biggest challenges. It's probably more how I show up than how they are doing things. We won't go into those pieces.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's me more than them. Absolutely.
I can tend to show up.
Thank you for the painful reminder, Jeff. I'm contributing to the problem. Thank you.
That's my, I knew I was in trouble when my teenage son said, when I came home complaining about something, what's your contribution to this problem, Dad? And so they turned around and very
Yeah,
quickly,
you make the big mistake by telling your family what you do for a living and the tools that you have. So they use them better than you against you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So just kind of, as we kind of begin to wrap up here, John, beautiful story. Just continue to be entranced with your journey and our friendship. As you look forward now, these wherever this journey that you're on is going to take you, what are some of your hopes? What are some things that you are hoping that you see on this journey, that you impact? Anything you'd like to talk about your hopes in the future for the journey?
My hopes, you know what? It's funny when you said your hopes for the future. Last week when we had the session with Peter launching his 4th edition of Flawless, there was a statement shared by someone, and I think it was from Abraham Lincoln, that stuck with me. I hate, the statement says, I hate this guy, maybe I should get to know him. And it kind of stayed with me this week. And my hope is that I am able to have conversations with those that I've had difficulty having conversations with so far, close and far. And my hope is that by doing so, hopefully, I can succeed more often in being the model of what we hope to bring into organizations.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
A good hope. And I'm still so moved by your poem. I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much for sharing.
We have with us Maya, a new poet from Singapore today. Vera Lim. Vera Lim is the newest poet of Singapore, and she wrote a fantastic poem that she shared with me a few weeks ago. And I can tell you that we'll hear about Vera in poetry soon. I couldn't let this slide, Vera, seeing you in front of me on the screen. I had to share that.
I love your background too. Your background in itself is poetry, Vera. It's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Yes, I'm still writing
My
poetry,
pleasure.
if that's what you're wondering.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. So why don't we'll get a chance to move into our breakouts just another time. And this time, just as you reflect on what's stirred for you, what struck you as you listen to Joe's journey. Is just anywhere you want that conversation to go in your small group. Then we'll come back together as the big group and do some interactions as well, some harvesting, as we say, through that. So again, be fully present with your fellow small group folks. What struck you, what inspired you, what moved you as you listened to Joe's story. And we'll again, I think we have we're doing fine on our time here, so I think we can be in there for about 12 minutes or so, I think, Maya, to really get that, and we'll come back in the larger group. So 10 to 12 minutes we have on the clock. What struck you about, what moved you about Joe's story? We'll see you back in the main in a few.
Sorry, there's some people dropped. I'm just gonna move some around and then these will open up. All right, here we go. And if you have any trouble in your breakout room, feel free to come back out here and I'll get you sorted. Bye. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, so we just have a few minutes left. If anybody would like to share a question for Joe or a comment about what struck you in that dialogue, through that to have some interaction here, with Joe. So who would love to just raise your physical hand or unmute your mic and start talking, or however you want to move in through that process. So very good. All right.
Gina.
Gina, thank you.
Yes, okay. So I would like to share something with you about Joe. And even though I know him since 15 plus years working with him, and he is still striking me in some events.
Gina, 25 years.
25, that because I want to feel young. That's why I didn't say more. Hitting our 30th year soon. Okay, so we had this year, not 2022, we had a workshop in Cairo, and he was flying from Montreal. He arrived at night, and the workshop is the second day. We didn't prepare together beforehand at all. It was a one-day session for a group that we were dealing with them since 3 years, on-off training, a training program. So when we arrived to the training room, because I didn't see him before night, I told him, Joe, what shall we do? How we will start the session, everything. He told me, I didn't prepare. Okay, so what we will do? I said, don't worry. 2, 3, 4 minutes, people arrive. Okay, he saw a painting on the wall, and he used this painting as a starting point, and he led the whole session about it. And people were at a certain point crying and saying, this is the best session that we took since many years. And they committed to do some action plans and whatever. And I was like, how it happened, how he managed to look at this and to take from this 3 questions he built on the painting on the wall that he never saw in his life. 3 questions, and around these questions, he built the whole entire day. So thank you, Joe, for always amazing me. I never feel hickey, dull. Always there is some food for thought and for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Gina. Who else? Any comments?
Yeah,
hello.
Vera? We'll go with Vera. This was first, right? Okay, then that was that. Ahmad maybe next. Vera?
Yeah.
Hi. I'm from Singapore, everybody. So hello. I would like to think that I'm Joe's newest friend. I think I just want to share what Nadine and I talked about in our breakout room, which was the line actually by Abraham Lincoln. You know, I hate this man. I must get to know him. Because I think we shared that as women, or women in work, women in leadership positions, sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, and it sometimes feels like it's us versus them, but that line really inspired us to break past ourselves, because we limit ourselves and we show up in a certain way. And then going back to Joe's poem about, you know, make mountains grow, make the rivers flow together. If we can bring ourselves, our full selves with everyone together, I think we can really make mountains grow and rivers flow together. So thank you, Joe, for that.
Thanks, Vera. Thank you. And thanks, Nadine. Thank you.
Yes. Imad.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Imad.
Hi, Joe. How are you? Hi, everybody who knows me and everybody who I'm lucky to meet today. I was lucky in the breakout room but Paul asked the question and he pushed me to think of what I carry on with me since Joe told me this in 2006. Don't be the chariot, be the horse. And Paul was asking, well, he can solve such complicated conversation, but what about himself? What about Joe? So I believe that Joe is a great horse who always succeeds in going into risky grounds, unsecure grounds, and leading his energy with his powerful, and I don't know, maybe magical, as Gina was talking about his magic, to come out with success and and in a positive way to overcome all the challenges and to reach new ground. So this is maybe the best lesson that I learned from Joe, is to be the horse and to not to be afraid to try new things, to change and to explore new opportunities, meet new people. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Imad. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right, time for maybe one more to share at this point. Then we will move to our close. Who would like to share a comment or a question? Yeah, Brad. Oh no, like this. Yeah, go with Gilbert. I see. Then we'll go Brad. Gilbert.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy
Hello,
to see you
Gilbert.
all. I'm very happy to see you all. It has been a while. Many faces. Hi, Joe. So, like you had
Hi,
a dream,
Gilbert.
I'm gonna live the here and now, as Joseph taught me, and not go back in the past, in the moment. So you said something powerful. That's the first time I hear from you when you say, "So what's your hope?" Your hope is to keep on opening conversations with people usually you don't think you like or you intend to talk to. So keep those conversations with people who are the most difficult to have conversations with. And we were discussing in the room, and then Roy said that we've been having those conversations for a long time and we don't agree on a lot of things, but at the same time we enjoy those conversations. And then Anita said it's powerful how conversations with people who we might not agree on the journey, but we know where we're heading together. I think I was very inspired by this sentence. I think on a lot of moments in my life, I hope I'll have the same hope that you have of keep on having conversations with people. So you've been an inspiration. And every time I'm in a situation where I have different conversations, I ask myself, what would Joe do? And then I do it. So good to see you.
That's
in all
too
those
much
endeavors.
responsibility, Gilbert.
No, I
Thank
enjoy
you.
it. So I put it on you, but not on me. If I fail, I say Joe said.
And Joe is accountable.
Oh yeah, exactly. Thanks, Gilbert. Good to have you here. Then we'll finish up, Brad.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll finish it up. Hi, Brad.
Hi. So Joe, just one final little comment. We've known each other for about 30 years now from our first times. And I was saying to my team in our little breakout room that I remember that visit to you, to Montreal, and to your family, and staying with you, and some of that, what we did. And the main thing here is I just want to say thank you for being, and really that was one of the key moments in my life, being an example of love in action.
Thanks. Thank you, Brad. You're lovable in any case, Brad.
Very good. All right. Well, we are ready to at the end of our time. Several folks, Joe, have asked for a copy of your poem. If you'd be willing to share that with Maya at some point, we'll get that out to the group in the different places. It won't replace having you read it as we do have that recording too. So just Joe, if you want to kind of not last comments, but as we move on to whoever our next part of our journey, anything you'd like to share with the group?
Well, there is a sentence that I love at the closing of meetings, and I will share it. It was wonderful seeing many of my friends, colleagues, and new people that I discovered in this call. Thank you very much for investing the time, for being here. It was definitely happy to meet. I am sorry to part. This is one of the moments, as they say, it's moments of eternity, moments where time stops to exist. So I've enjoyed this moment of eternity for me with you, and I hope that our paths will cross again. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody. Folks that came in here specifically for Joe, we do these once a month. They aren't always with Joe, so we will have more storytellers. So stay connected. You now are on our list. Many, many great storytellers that we have to share journeys. That's what this life is about, is the journeys that we all share and we connect. So thank you for being in community with us, for saying yes to this invitation. Thank you, Joe, for the invitation, accepting the invitation to continue to share as you always do. And may you all have a very fruitful, joyful next parts of your journeys as we step into this next part of eternity. So thank you all. We will say au revoir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye to all
everyone.
the Joes.
Bye.
All the Joes.
Bye.
Joe, we're overdue for another coffee.
Absolutely. Soon, I hope. I'm in Montreal for a couple of more weeks.
Okay, deal. I'll talk to you next week then.
All
Enjoy,
right,
everyone.
perfect. Thanks, Wissam.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Lovely. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Joe.
Go.
for
It's
your
a pleasure.
time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really, that was enjoyable.
Good.
Thanks.
Thanks again, guys. We're out. Bye-bye.
See you, and I'll
Everyone.
share the poem with you soon, Maya.
Sure,
Thanks.
that would be wonderful. I'll send it out. I know people would love it. I would also love it.
Thanks. Same here. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks again, Joe. Good friend.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.